Hi, welcome to Unsilenced Voices That Matter. And my name is Kate. I am your host. Today's episode will be more like a follow-on to the last episode we had on grief, loss, healing, and finding your way forward. Today I have a guest, a beautiful young woman, passionate. She will tell you more about herself. And we'll be looking more into finding your way forward after loss. Keep in mind, in our last episode, we said loss does not have a manual, and it can be the loss of anything, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a spouse, the loss of a job, the loss of health. But like I said, the process remains the same. The loss might be different, but the process remains the same. So welcome with me today, Ugbonma.
Yeah.
But you will get to see that her name is Ugee, and she will tell you more about herself. Welcome, Ugee.
Thank you, ma. So good to be here.
Great.
Okay, so my name is Ugbonma actually, but I will always tell people to call me Ugee. They have a way of murdering my name, so I tell them to call me Ugee. I work in the social space as a corporate social responsibility executive, and I do other things aside that. I write. I love to teach as well, so I also teach. There's just so much that I love to do. So these are my books. I was glad when I saw it here.
So, Ugbonma, tell me about the time when your father was here. What kind of man was he? Who was he generally?
Okay. Oh, I like that. I get the opportunity to talk about my dad. My father was a very intentional man. I used to say to people that I don't think he was a perfect man, but he was a man who was intentional with his family, with the things that he held dear. He was that person you were sure would show up for you. I used to follow my dad out as a small baby. You know, when people are used to having them to go out with their mom as little kids, but I would always follow my dad. I remember when he would always carry me on his shoulder. And I'll follow him to the office. I would disturb him, run around. When I got into the secondary school, my daddy took me to school. He was doing school run for some days because he was like, this guy is small. I remember then he took me to school. I was holding him. And daddy, don't go. I was in JS1. During my graduation, my daddy would show up. My daddy would just show up randomly at school. My daddy would come into the room and he would read the room. He would be like, oh, something is off. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? He calls me mom because he named me after his mom. And it was just, you could see he didn't meet his mom. He met his mom as I think his mom died at the age of when he was 8 or 7 thereabout. So I think he had the way, when he calls me, I feel that love he has for his mom, and I enjoyed it. My daddy was someone I didn't have any pressure to perform around. I see a lot of people who have targets to meet. Maybe their parents, they were done with school, their daddy and their mommy is expecting something from them. My daddy was not that man. I didn't have any need to perform. And I remember when I came home with a very silly decision I made when I was in secondary school. I came to tell him that I made a very silly decision. And he gave me all his support. My mom was wondering. My mom was like, why are you spoiling these children? He said, no, allow them to explore. Let them learn, make mistakes, and they will learn from the mistakes. Don't bottle them up. He was that person I could tell, Daddy, this is how I feel, even about a boy. My daddy knew all my friends, all, because he felt part of protecting us was to be in our spaces. If you tell him you're going out, he will tell you, he will ask where you're going to. You will give him the address. In fact, you will get to that place, tell him the color of the house, the color of the curtain of the house. He wanted to be that detailed. And for me, it made me feel loved. It made me feel seen. It made me feel protected. There was never a time he would tell you don't go out. He would just tell you go, but make sure you're home before 6 o'clock. Or make sure you don't get home late.
This your father. That was the present. Funny enough, there's something peculiar about what you said and my experience with my dad. My father also said I'm his mother come back to life.
Oh, interesting.
So because of that, he calls me mommy.
Oh.
Name. He had this way of saying it. We fight, we quarreled, we disagreed. I was that bone. I was always, Daddy, no, kind of thing. And he will say name, and Yeah, so that connection resonates quite well with me. But what happened?
Okay. Also, I think I remember really, I was on my way to breaking news to my dad. I'd just gotten, I was planning to transit in my career, and I had just gotten that breakthrough, and I was on my way to break the news. It was during the Christmas holiday. In fact, I was going home to tell him that I had gotten this offer, and we're also preparing to travel home in 2 days' time. So I was just excited on both ways, traveling for Christmas, because growing up, we look forward to Christmas holidays. We travel every year. So as I was on my way home, I got that call. Oh, your daddy was involved in an accident. A car hit him, and I'm like, the first question I asked is my daddy still alive? He said yes. I said, okay, as long as he's still alive. In fact, he told my mom that he wanted to speak to me, because I think he felt, oh, this girl will be under some form of anxiety. And mommy gave me the phone, and I spoke with him. He said he's fine. That he had just a very, little, that was according to him, dislocation. But it wasn't a dislocation, it was a fracture. He broke his bone, and from the bone issue, one thing led to the other, and his health took another turn. And it was just from one health episode to the other until he passed.
Wow. How has that been for you and your family?
Crazy.
Considering the relationship, the closeness, how has that been?
Crazy. Okay, I didn't even say something. I shared the same birthday with my dad.
Oh.
Yeah, we shared the same birthday. And he passed on the 2nd of May. Our birthday was to be on the 3rd of June, the next month. So that birthday that year, I had planned to celebrate it. That birthday that year there was nothing exciting about it. The only thing I know that was, a kind of, relieving for me was I was just grateful to God for life. I won't take out that aspect of being grateful to God that I'm alive, and I'm not just alive, I'm living out purpose. But it wasn't easy, because every year, my dad and I had the culture of calling ourselves, celebrating ourselves. He will sing for me, I'll sing for him. Sometimes he will send me gifts, I will not send him. Sometimes he will give me money, and just when I had become intentional about celebrating my dad, I will always tell him that he's a great father anyways. And I always, but when I just became a little more intentional, I just felt, oh, this man is just gone. So it wasn't easy. It hasn't been easy for us. My daddy was a very committed father, especially, when it comes to our immediate family. He had his way around everybody. He was that person that had the way of, relieving everybody of stress. He had the way of making us laugh, sometimes he was that bond too. Sometimes he will call you, have you called your siblings this week? And you're like, no. So
why are you sounding like it's my dad?
Okay, you say, is it airtime that's a problem? I'm like, Dad, no. I've been a baby. Say, call your siblings. Don't be so busy. I'll pick up my phone and I'll talk to my siblings. He was that person that would, call you. He would see random things on the road and call you to say, oh, this is what he saw. You will laugh about it.
My father was a gossip.
So, you will laugh about it. And I'm like, oh.
My father was a gossip, We used to call him Asna.
Okay.
Because he will call you and he will tell you, name, Imakwanasi. And we're like, what? So,
oh my God.
He had one Asna or the other that he had to share with us.
Oh my God.
And so every day, something reminds you of him.
Yeah.
Just this morning in the bathroom, I read one of the messages my sister sent, and I said, Daddy and doings.
Oh.
That man had doings. And for a moment I stopped and I prayed. I said, God, I thank you for the memories this man has left behind. Thank you for the smile he still brings to us, even though he is not here. And I prayed, I said, God, let the memory of this man always be blessed.
Yeah.
Because every time I speak with family and we talk, there is something that Daddy has said or done that is present.
Yeah.
Even in the past 2 years that we do no longer have him. on this side of eternity. So, and I know we are more grown up than you.
Yeah.
You know, and so how have you been able to, navigate that? And where have you found yourself?
Okay, I think that I don't even know whether we found our way around it. Sometimes I talk with my siblings and we're like, we miss daddy. There are things that happen in my life and I want to talk to him and I know he's the best person I want to speak to regarding that matter. It was a culture for my dad to call me every day after work. How are you doing? How was it? Even when he was ill, we would talk. So for the days I didn't hear from him, I just knew that this is getting out of hand. But navigating it hasn't been easy, I think the first time it dawned on my mom was when my mom one day had to be the person to supervise there was something in there to fix at home. And my mommy had to be the person to get the vendor and supervise it. Mommy said, daddy is not here. Daddy is the person who always does this. And I felt it, I felt it because as little as my father was my father is a very domestic person. The only thing I know he doesn't do is cook. But he will go to the market, he will buy things, he will clean, he will wash. I looked forward to washing with my dad because it was exciting for him. My dad will go to the market, he will see beautiful things. In fact, some of the beautiful wares I have was given to me by my dad. My dad is a very fashionable person. So he will go to the market and buy. I'm like, Daddy, you have an eye for, things. Anytime I come, I'm looking forward to a gift he's going to give me. If it's a material or something, he just has an eye to spot good things. I still have some of those things in my wardrobe. I kept them. I would cherish it. So, those things, we don't have anyone who does that now. Even when we're traveling for Christmas, one of the days, my sister said, this is the first time we are ever traveling. Okay, it wasn't a Christmas, we're traveling home for his funeral. My sister said, this is the first time we are ever traveling without daddy. And it was so sad because we looked forward to journey with my dad. He will stop over at somewhere, he will buy things, we will be eating. My mother would say, you are wasting money. I cooked food, this and that. Daddy would say, enjoy your money while you're still alive, My mom would say, but you say you don't have money. Where is this money coming from? These are my kids. Let's have fun. So we did, it's no longer there. I remember having to talk to him I needed to ask him a question about something. I had something going on with me at some point. It had to do with relationship, and I needed to talk to my dad. That was when that day I felt sad. I felt his absence. I'm like, Daddy is not here. Daddy would have been the best person to, talk about this thing too. And so we just keep moving. And on the responsibility part, it's not been an easy one. It's not been an easy one because my daddy had a way of, when I talk about my dad, some people will have a picture of my father as, maybe he's one Otedola or Dangote. No, my daddy was just a simple man who, was out there for his family, was out there for the people he loved and cared about. And the responsibility has been a lot. Having a daddy who's spoiled. I was just telling you now that my daddy, when I finished school, I was still doing baby girl lifestyle. I didn't feel the pressure you need to start 9 to 5 so that you can make money. I was still calling, Daddy, I don't have money. And he will send me money. Daddy, I need, And even if he wanted to say something to you, tell you, I think you need to look into this, look into that. But he was never going to pressure you. He was never going to. He would tell you, you need to get this going. And I think that piece I had also helped me to be very open to him. It also helped me to be a very vulnerable daughter to him. I didn't have to hide anything from him. And when it was time to fight, we fought. Daddy, I don't agree with this one. Daddy, I don't want this one done. And, we'll argue. But my father was that man who could reach out to say, I spoke to you wrongly. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about it.
And you said your father was born in May. How come he sounds very June? How come he sounds very much like my dad? Because my dad was the apologetic one.
Yeah.
You have a scuffle with him or a misunderstanding, he will apologize.
He was stubborn,
No,
but that
he will
stubborness,
apologize. He will come back and say, are you angry?
Mm-hmm.
Are you angry?
Or he will buy you
Don't
something.
be angry now. He had that way of. So I believe that is why while it feels heavy, right? It feels like a deep sense of loss. There's still this deep sense of joy I feel in saying I'm his daughter.
Yeah.
Because he was that one person that was your cheerleader to the ends of the world.
That's
He was that kind of person that he saw a good in everything you do. My father had his own. Let's not even go there. He had his own. But he's this person that when you sit back and think, there's every moment his stamp is in practically everything around you. So let's take it back. You are a writer. Maybe we'll talk about your writing. But navigating loss, because this topic is really about finding a way forward. We do not want to be stuck in that past. There is a sense of guilt at times you feel when you begin to move on. And it looks like, so you have forgotten about this person so soon. And as if you are no longer carrying that part of you. Do you feel that sense of guilt?
Okay, so for me, I think I also want to say something. That I'm the first child. And so when my daddy passed, I had a lot of calls, telling me to be strong. For my mom, for my siblings. And I didn't even really have the opportunity to grieve. I remember the day when my daddy died, I was riding home with my mentor. And I was calling my siblings to tell them, just be fine. We're going to be fine. Be strong. Don't cry. She had to rebuke me. She said, that's your daddy that also passed. And I've not seen you. I've been encouraging other people. I said, no, don't do this. Give yourself time. If you need to cry, cry. You also lost. Everybody should check up on you. But that advice of be strong for your mom, be strong for your sibling, made me to put up a very strong, disposition. I think the day I cried though, but when I felt that my sister locked herself in for days and, she cried. She went to shave her hair and all that. But I was doing the big girl, macho girl and all that. The day it dawned on me was on the day for the funeral. Okay, I woke up in the morning, I stepped outside. I had a senior friend who traveled home with me. She told me, I want to be by your side through this period. And she was home with me. I woke up that morning and I had to, sneak out of the room because I didn't want her to see me. She was always there too. I came out early in the morning. I think as early as 5, I started crying. And I said, today is the day my dad is going to be. Today, because I was still even being hopeful that this man is going to somehow wake up. Miracle. And so even when we went to the mortuary, I couldn't even look at him. I told him I wasn't going to look. I didn't want to have that memory as the last memory I have of him. But at the point I felt I needed to. I was mourning, I was feeling bad so much, but I had to tell myself, my daddy will not be happy to have me in this state, when I'm thinking about him, and I'm not thinking about him in a fulfilled manner. I had to even come up with that, to tell myself, the dead will want us to keep living for them, I had to call my siblings, talk to my mom. I told them, the best thing we can do is to ensure that everything my daddy wanted to, do, everything that made him happy, the legacies he has built, we'll just keep living it. We won't be crying every day.
Sure.
Yeah. If he sees us crying every day, he won't be happy because he won't want us. These are the people that he loves. He wants to see us in that state of grief. We're grieving consistently. And the most beautiful thing that he died as a believer. So I told them, he's not. We're not advantaged. He's a believer. He died as a believer, and so we know he's in a better place, and he wants the best for us. Part of the best he wants for us is to live our lives, be happy, uphold his memories. And it's not easy. Sometimes you come back, you see things that remind you of him, and you're like, oh, this man is gone again. And there are days when I just stay and I miss my dad, and I'll have to cry. I have to cry. I will cry.
So what has moving forward been like?
I don't think I have words to say what it has been like, but it has been a journey of growth for me as well. Having to, I think I don't have the words to explain what I have in my head, but it's been a journey of. I have to be very sincere. It's not been easy, but it involves a lot of getting to talk to yourself, getting to, prep yourself, encourage yourself. Thank God for my faith. God has also helped. I think after my daddy died, I had to take on a study on, because I felt like, the man who was our father is gone. So I had to, take on the study on understanding God's fatherhood over us, because God was that father that we had left. As much as you say you have family members who they will never fill in the void that the father left. They can try their best to call, reach out to you at different times, but they can never be your dad. So God has helped us. We have also, had to tell ourselves that we need to uphold his legacy. And part of upholding his legacy is to, walk in the examples that he has modeled. And make sure that the hope, the desires he had for us, we bring them to light. I think that has been it for us.
So I want you to now, let's look at the things you have been doing. I believe these are posts. They were after his passing.
Just one. I have a book I wrote about my father.
Already?
I'm not actually, I think that was one of the things I did that helped me grieve.
Okay.
So I'll come back home sometimes, and I love to write. So I'll just scribble down lessons I learned from him. Maybe I'll remember something he said. I'll write it down, and I will just talk through them on my journal. And I had to develop it into a book. I wanted to put it out. I think I'm hoping that I'll put it out this year on his second year remembrance. I'll just put it out to mark his. I just tell people about my father, because I didn't get the opportunity to say everything I wanted to say during when we wrote the tribute and all that. I think I have a documented article on my father, and I'm hoping I'll put it out. It's not perfect. And I used to say to my friends too that it's not a manual for fatherhood or parenting. It's just me sharing
your own experience,
of my father. I call him. We knew him as Akobobo because he was my daddy was a socialite. Everybody wanted to. My friends would come to my house and be calling my daddy their husband, their sugar boy. So that was the kind of father I had. He would hug them. He'd be like, what's up, my baby? Where's my baby coming? I'm like, your baby. My mother is here.
Yeah, I'm watching you.
Oh.
Okay, so let's look at the other things you have been doing. Because if you ask me, I would say that many times grief helps us find our space in the world. Because this conversation, this podcast, the core of it is whatever it is that we have been through, whatever we have gone through, is to be able to find a space where we begin to function in a way that helps other people. Somebody who is listening to this may be grieving and does not know how to get out of it. The person might just be thinking, at times you question, why did you have to go and die? Did you not see any other thing to do? Why did you allow yourself to die? If people have the power to hold themselves back from dying, I'm sure a lot of people would do so.
Sure.
Right? But for me also, that's also a process of grieving, because in questioning, you're beginning to discover that this person did not really want to die. It just happened. And yeah, so many people who have lost someone may be listening to this, and they're asking themselves the same questions you have asked, the same path you have walked. And so if you are to, tell somebody who have lost their father what to do, how to go about it, what would you say? Without sounding like you are teaching or preachy. You're not sounding preachy or teachy or sounding like a motivational speaker. But reality, helping that person ground themselves in the reality that you will not see this person on this side of eternity again.
Okay, so for me, I'm always big on my faith. There was a level of relationship with God it unlocked for me, right? Because I was at that state where I was really I felt so vulnerable. There was an encounter that happened one time, and I'm like, if my daddy was here, this person wouldn't have done this, right? So I felt so vulnerable, And it made me work on my relationship with God some more. And there was a lesson I took from my dad. My daddy was an intentional person with the relationships he had. My daddy's friends, sometimes I look at those people and I'm like, wow, if this man didn't even have so much money, he had quality relationships. And so I had to look inwards to ask myself, am I this kind of friend to the people in my space? It helped me to improve on my relationship. I became a bit more intentional with the people I had in my space, with the relationships I had. I started nurturing my relationship because I could hear the things. The people that showed up were even the people you least expected. And when they come with a particular story of how your dad showed up. Your daddy was that person who, would always be there. If he tells you he will be there, he will be there. And I told myself, am I really that person that, I'm going to, these things are going to be said of me too. That people will say, you show up, So I became a lot more intentional about my relationship, not just with my family, with the people in my space, with the people I cared about. It wasn't just a theoretical thing. I became part of their lives. And I think that has been one of the beautiful experiences I've had. And part of the thing I also say to anyone going through any form of grief, someone is not here anymore. You can glean on the lessons of their lives and improve on yourself and find purpose in it. For me, when I say that I've become more intentional, not like I wasn't intentional anyways, but I was that person who didn't want extra stress. I wanted to be in my space, do my thing. But in doing that, I've also found that singular decision has influenced the other part of me. I interact with people every day, not just for work, for ministry purposes. And I've seen that it has fine-tuned that aspect of me. I've become a lot more involved in what I'm doing. As a ministry person, as a friend, as a big sister, as a daughter, I'm a lot more intentional. And I told myself something. I wouldn't have to have anyone go through, maybe lose anyone, and I would regret that I didn't do as much as I would have wanted to do. So I just come all out. I come all out because sometimes a little regret I have about my daddy's demise was that I felt like I didn't tell him enough how much I loved him, how much of a good father he was. And so I don't want to have that regret again. So if I have anybody in my space now, I tell you, I'm loud about the things you do. Oh, this is excellent. This is how this has affected me or changed me. I think that's it for me.
Great. So I want you to talk to me about your writing. I have 2 of your books here.
Yeah.
The God Woman, the God Girl's Devotional. I want to talk to me, just talk me through this. Has it in any way helped in managing, or has it helped you to channel your energies, your intentionality to supporting the people around you? Just talk to me about your writing.
The God Girls, the God Woman. I wrote the God Woman. I did a training and I did a project on, the contributions of women in the society, and I had to interact with a lot of women. And my life has been a journey that has been a story of one woman being part of my life. I've never been a girl. I didn't have a path with youthful exuberance, all this. It wasn't part of my story. So there's never a time my mommy had to say, oh, this girl is going to trouble, because I've always had women in my journey who had helped me, I think if I used to say to people, if I have 100 friends, 75% of them are older persons, women who have, shaped me. So I look at them, I see examples. I have examples ever before me. So I don't even have time to think about being silly. So when I worked on that project, I had to go back to my own life to see, how far I've come. I've not done so much anyways, but I've done quite enough. And I can't say that I did all those things because I wanted to. There were people, mentors, coaches, people who were just friends, we could call acquaintances, who were part of my journey at different times. And while I was on that too, being in certain spaces in the social, I've done a lot of projects around women and girls, and then also being in certain spaces in church. As a young child, when I was growing up, people had nicknames of being, they would call themselves sugar girl, brown sugar, and all those things. My own nickname was preacher's wife. Whoa. That's what I chose. Because the picture that I saw there was that, if you're a woman who is, I knew that my daddy telling me certain things about my life, I just knew that I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to be part of modeling and shaping the lives of people. And so I felt the only pictures I had around me at the time was pastor's wife. So I now said I was a preacher's wife. So when I started growing, I started seeing, okay, this is a stereotype too. I can actually be a pastor, not a pastor's wife necessarily. And I when I started reading the Bible, I just discovered a lot of, I saw a lot of things. I'm like, women are not doing as much as women I'm seeing in the Bible, So I began to write. I began to talk to people from my job too, and the book as well. And then while I was on the God Woman, I started noticing another thing. I told myself, if God had not put people in my space to nurture me to this point, maybe I wouldn't have done it. So it now put a burden again in my heart for the younger girls. And I was like, okay, how do I reach these younger girls? Thanks to God for guidance as well. I was having 1 or 2 coaching sessions with them. It wasn't so effective, because of time, work, and all that. And so we decided to write the God Girls. There's also another one that's going to come out, I think in some months or two, also in line with this, and some other ones. So it just helped me. I think for me, it's a way of me trying to see how I can reach more persons. For persons that might not even have the opportunity to sit with, they can read and, become.
If you are to wrap all of this up as a parcel that you will hand over to someone, your work in the social space, your involvement and intentionality in trying to shape the people around you, because you have also been a beneficiary of having people in your own journey. And then, of course, your experience of your loving father's demise. If you are to wrap it up as a gift and share to your world, what would that be in just a sentence or two?
Give your best to your word. Live life to the fullest. Impact people. Be a blessing to people. Be the reason why someone gets better.
Grief has no manual. It could turn out either way. You can either get better by it or become worse for it. But the purpose of this podcast and these conversations is to help you see that whatever you are going through in your life's journey, whether it's the loss of a family member, a child, your spouse, your parent, a job, a career path, physical property, whatever the loss is, someone else have gone through it. While we encourage everyone to grieve as is necessary, as their capacity can carry, we also believe that in listening to others, you are learning and taking a cue. It is very important to find a tribe. Find a tribe. When I say a tribe here, it is not ethnicity. Find a group of people who you can connect with and learn to live. What that simply means is that whatever significance that person has in your life, the person's journey may have ended, but yours still continues. It is now your responsibility to continue to grow, to continue to live out their own legacies. For us, this conversation continues, and we'll keep encouraging each and everyone who has the opportunity of hearing us out that there is hope, there is life, and there is a future. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on today's episode of Unsilenced, Voices That Matter. We keep bringing you stories that resonate with your everyday life, and we really do hope that you are learning something and you are taking a life lesson that you will use to change your own world.